The Fed's easy money policies are going to bring the inflation boogeyman back to the U.S. with a vengeance. It's Sunday, December 15th, 2019. Let's get right into it today. So much happening. I read a really good article on shtfplan.com this morning where they interviewed Peter Schiff. Peter made some really good points here. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but he was talking about this inflation boogeyman and this massive amount of inflation that is going to hit America with a vengeance. He said the more air that comes out of this bubble, the more the Fed will do to blow air back into this bubble. He went on to say that Americans' bills are increasing faster than their paychecks. And these same people who are already behind the eight ball, these same people are going to get hit with massive inflation. And when this massive inflation hits America, I believe that this is when America gets hit with a massive recession or the meltdown. Peter went on to say that once the genie is out of the bottle, it is not going back. Another reason why we cannot become complacent, where we must be proactive and preparing. A lot of people are going to be more complacent this week because they're going to watch the stock market surge. And it should, because it got the fake China trade deal, phase one, and it's got the Fed. These two entities, the trade deal and the Fed, are going to be used as a tool to keep propping up these markets. We're going to get more optimism with trade talks with China as we go into phase two. Phase one, we got nothing. We've accomplished nothing. It is a fake deal. It's garbage. It's going to be used for nothing more than optimism to juice these markets. The Fed will continue quantitative easing. It will continue printing money out of thin air. It will continue to throw liquidity into this liquidity crisis that we're seeing here with U.S. banks. And we don't know how much money they are throwing into foreign banks. We don't know how much money they're using to buy stocks in the stock market to continue to prop it up. So we got a fake China trade deal, and we got a Fed that is subservient to prop up the stock market. So look forward to the stock market to surge this week unless some unlikely event, some black swan flies out of left field. These markets are on the rails to continue to surge. They at this point should be unstoppable. They're getting all the help. It's all an illusion. It's all fake. It's all being propped up. And so these markets should continue to go up. We continue to get more indications that the economy is in extremely bad shape. Trucking companies are failing in America. Now, somebody wrote a comment down below earlier today, and I want to respond to this. They said that I was spinning the Celadon trucking bankruptcy. This individual said that Celadon went out of business because of fraud. And yes, the CFO and the COO were arrested for securities fraud. But I also mentioned that in one of my past videos, but I also said that that wasn't just the only reason Celadon was going bankrupt. The other reason was the economy. When you have a securities fraud and wire fraud with your CFO and COO taking place, and you have a bad economy, it is a recipe for disaster, and they went bankrupt. But this individual thinks the economy had nothing to do with it. Now, if this individual did their due diligence, did a little homework, read a little bit, researched a little bit, they would understand that the economy had a lot to do with it. Fox Business News, trucking companies failing at nearly triple the rate of 2018. I don't need to spin the Celadon story when I can tell you that 795 other trucking companies in 2019 went out of business here in the United States of America. So to that individual, I'm not trying to pull a fast one on anybody. I'm not spinning a story. I don't need to. I have 795 other trucking companies that I can tell you about that are no longer in existence here in the U.S. because they're out of business, not because of fraud, but because of a bad economy. 795 companies have failed in 2019 here in the U.S. In 2018, it was 310. Let me give you this stat. 24,000 trucks have been removed from the nation's capacity in 2019. And you can just add up the amount of drivers that lost their jobs with that. This isn't because of fraud. This is because of a failing economy. Do your homework, Fox Business, to that individual who wants to call me out. Here's some more indications that we've got problems. No hurry to buy. This is on Zero Hedge. Manhattan luxury rents surge as buyers wait for crash. Luxury space has plunged in Manhattan since the New York City tax in July. Sales of $2 million properties or more have nosedived. In July, there were 360 sales. There were only about 15 in August. Now, there were a lot of sales because people wanted to buy before that tax went into effect. So sales did surge in July, but sales were much higher before July. And now in August, they're around 15. Many people are waiting on the sidelines, renting, waiting for this recession to arrive. And nobody knows how long that's going to take, but many people would rather rent at this point and keep their powder dry on the sidelines because many people are seeing the writing on the wall that this recession is around the corner. More indication that this economy, not just in the US, but the global economy is plunging. This is in Bloomberg News. Diamond crisis worsens as De Beers signals rough times ahead. This doesn't seem like a booming economy. As the global recession intensifies, De Beers will mine 1 million carats less than previously thought in both 2020 and 2021. This was some very interesting numbers here. Sales in 2016 for De Beers was $5.17 billion. In 2018, it was $4.85 billion. In 2019, get this, $3.61 billion. So from 2016 to 2019, an enormous drop. De Beers, which frequently sets the price of diamonds to its clients, slashed prices by 5% last month in hopes to stimulate demand. It's not working. This is right before Christmas, and this should be telling every one of you what is going on. When De Beers, who controls diamond prices across the globe, is slashing prices in November before Christmas, it's not working. This should tell you what is happening to the global economy, what's happening right here in America. The market is oversupplied with diamonds right now, with an economic downturn arriving soon. So they're going to be slashing prices much more than 5%. But again, it's another telltale sign of what's going on when De Beers is slashing prices before Christmas. And we see this oversupply of diamonds throughout the globe. The economy, the global economy, the US economy, not doing so well. So as we move forward into this week, I see Dow Jones futures up about 25 points right now. And as I've said earlier, these markets should surge. But it's not going to be because of the China trade deal. It's not going to be because of anything fundamental. It's going to be because of central bank money printing. The Fed is now in emergency mode. The Fed is in desperation mode. They are pumping hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars into the financial institutions because there is a liquidity crisis taking place. If you really truly believe everything is so good, how come the Fed is in the stock market buying stocks? How come they're buying $60 billion a month of T-bills? And how come they're pumping in hundreds of billions of dollars into the repo market every day? How come this is taking place if everything is okay? The Fed knows something that most Americans don't. You and I know something's very wrong, but the average American, the masses, the herd, these people have no idea. The Fed knows, they don't. You know, and I know, and this is why we're going to continue to prepare. This is why we're not going to be complacent. This is why we're going to continue to be proactive. We're going to keep with preparations. We're going to keep acquiring tangible assets, and we're going to keep putting some cash away because we know what the Fed knows, that this thing is coming down. And when it comes down, it's going to come down hard. So as most Americans don't have a clue with what's happening, the central banks know exactly what's happening, and this is why they are stockpiling precious metals. This was a really great article on Zero Hedge. Hundreds of billions in gold and cash are quietly disappearing. I'm going to go through this quickly for you. Something very, very strange is going on. While central banks are injecting $100 billion each month in electronic money to crush volatility and ramp up markets, a similar amount in hard physical currency and precious metals is literally disappearing. Last week, Goldman Sachs laid out a case for gold, saying gold's strategic case is still strong. One reason for this is that the same central banks that are full tilt printing cash have also been splurging on gold as a result of geopolitical uncertainty. There has been a record surge in gold demand by central banks. As Goldman notes, central banks globally have been buying gold at a very strong pace, and 2019 looks to be a record year for central bank purchases, with our target of 750 tons combined purchases to be met. That's a lot of gold. According to Goldman, a whopping 1,200 tons or $57 billion of unexplained gold flows in just the last 3 years. Globally, individuals are trying to minimize risk of sanctions or wealth taxes. We are seeing a surge in vault demand as uncertainty increases politically, socially, and financially. More people and banks are buying gold and storing it in vaults where it is more difficult for governments to reach it. So, just think about yourself. Think about what gold and silver has to offer. It's privacy. Nobody knows you have it. Nobody knows where it is. Nobody knows how much you have. So, unlike maybe a cryptocurrency where it's electronic, it can be followed, it can be taxed, somebody knows you have it. Gold and silver is very unique. You should be doing what the central banks are doing and high net worth individuals are doing. This is a must if you plan on protecting yourselves. You have to be your own central bank. Think like the central banks. Think like the elite. Think like the individual that has a high net worth. These people, these banks know exactly what is coming. Think like a high net worth individual. Because I believe if you protect yourself right now, if you're preparing right now, you are going to prosper in bad times. And most important, this is going to help you survive and get through tough times, and it's going to give you a leg up. It's going to give you an advantage when the dust settles and we get back to a monetary system. And in order for this reset to take place, or for this system to start over, money must be backed by gold or silver or both. We cannot go back to some electronic money or paper currency backed by nothing. It must be backed by something like gold and silver. Goldman notes over the past 3 years, tens of billions of dollars in gold has flowed mysteriously and disappeared from official record, yet which are most certainly taking place behind the scenes as the world's top 1% brace for major shock. So again, nobody knows where it's going. Nobody knows who has it. Nobody knows what banks may have it, what countries may have it. And again, this is kind of an advantage of gold and silver. Nobody knows you have it. Nobody knows how much you have, where it's at. And so much easier to hide than electronic money. Now, where is all the cash? Wall Street Journal notes central banks don't know where all the cash has gone. Now, this is another interesting part of this article. We know one thing. Of the $1.7 trillion in U.S. cash in circulation in 2018, the vast majority is offshore, where it quickly and quietly disappears as the world's second best physical store of wealth after gold. So a lot of cash leaving, physical cash leaving America and going offshore. And nobody knows exactly where or who has it. Fed economist Ruth Judson wrote in 2017, about 60% of all U.S. currency and about 75% of $100 bills had left the country by the end of 2016 for a total amount of about $900 billion in U.S. dollars overseas. Socking these bills away provides some protection against economic turmoil, especially in countries with a record of instability in their own financial systems. And so just think that people are physically stockpiling gold, silver, and cash. And we don't even know where all this is. And we don't even know how much of it is out there. But one scary thing is, if something happens to the US dollar, that is one big asset that is going to be gone, eliminated. And all that's going to be left, pretty much, in my opinion, is going to be gold and silver. If something were to happen to the world reserve currency of the US dollar, what is going to happen to all those dollar bills? The 75% of $100 bills that have left the country by the end of 2018, what if they became worthless? The only thing at that point is gold and silver. So I believe you should have some cash. Some people, believe you shouldn't. I believe you should until it no longer works, but you must have gold and silver to fall back on, because once the currency is devalued, once it goes worthless, the only thing you have is gold and silver. It is the real money. Remember, if you bury cash, it decomposes. If you store cash up in your attic, the mice are going to get to it. If you put cash in an envelope, you might mistakenly put it through the shredder. If you have a fire, cash burns. Gold and silver are indestructible. That is why it's God's money, and that's why it's been here for over 5,000 years, and that's why it is never going away. So I'm going to leave you with this. This whole thing is going to blow up at some point. If you are not ready mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially, you are going to be collateral damage like the rest of the herd. God bless.